I'm Donna Lowry with Lawmakers on Georgia Public Broadcasting with the Coronavirus What You Need to Know segment. We hear the regular updates on people who are dying from COVID-19, but they're just horrifying statistics until we put a name and face to them. Real people with families suffering heartbreaking losses. And on top of that, because of social and physical distancing, unable to properly say goodbye to their loved ones. Joining us are two people experiencing loss and that aftermath. Brother and sister Carla McKinney and Bill Mann, who lost their 84-year-old mother, retired educator Ernestine Mann, 6 days after her death. Their aunt, their mother's sister, Carolyn Harris, passed away of coronavirus too. First, to both of you, our condolences. This is certainly a tough time, and I appreciate your talking with us right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carla, tell us a little bit about your mother, and then Bill, afterwards, I'll get you to talk a little bit about your Aunt Caroline. Okay. Carolyn, I should say.
Yeah. Right.
Well, as it's been said a lot, my mother was just an amazing woman, an outstanding person, a woman of God, a woman of faith. She was a great mom to us all, an outstanding community leader. An excellent teacher. She was voted Teacher of the Year numerous times throughout her teaching career. She was an excellent wedding coordinator. She was an excellent committee member leader. She's just excellent at all that she did. My mother exposed us to quite a bit in terms of just culture. As we were growing up, we were exposed to the Fox Theater when we could go, and Holiday on Ice. I remember things like that. I remember shopping downtown when it was called Riches, going to the Magnolia Room, and just having a lot of nostalgic experiences, riding the Pink Pig, just all of those things that we got a chance to do as young people growing up, because my mom saw to it that we were well-rounded and well-exposed. So I appreciated her for that, because probably as a result of that, we have a love of reading and arts and just, traveling, and quite a few things that came out of our experience growing up with Miss Ernestine Mann.
Yes, and you called her the diva, a little bit of a diva.
Yeah, she was quite the diva. She was always on point with her dress, meticulous, just a lot of etiquette skills that she passed down, and she did not tolerate half-baked cakes. Your cake had to be right.
I bet. I got a chance to meet her, and I know that was part of who she was. Bill, talk about your Aunt Carolyn a little bit.
Well, my Aunt Carolyn, it's just kind of this. It's a little difficult right now because her and my mom's were very close. My aunt used to go up to visit her maybe twice a week up at Arbor Terrace. And for her to contract the disease, before my mom was just a shocking thing. But she's an outstanding woman. We have a niece, Amber Harris. She's the only child, which is a little difficult as well. But all in all, she was a church-going woman. She's very, how can I say it? She was very open, very kind-hearted, very generous. She just meant a lot to the family in more ways than one.
Yeah, I didn't talk about how this all came up. Your Aunt Carolyn first contracted this and was hospitalized, and then it was later that you found out about your mother. Explain that a little bit. We
were shocked to find out that Carolyn was in the hospital with COVID and on a ventilator, and everyone was shocked throughout the family, praying for her, having no idea that, 6 days later, my mom would be admitted. I had spoken with Carolyn. I actually went back and listened to a voicemail she left me on that Monday to call her back. And of course I called her back. And we had a good conversation. Actually, we had been talking about my mom and my granddaddy, her dad, because we were trying to get some information to give to Arbor Terrace for, the doctor on staff there. So we were just kind of having those kind of conversations and reflecting on a lot, and had no idea that on that Thursday, following that conversation, that Aunt Carolyn would be in the hospital. So needless to say, there are a lot of texting, a lot of prayers going up for her. And my cousin Amber started a trend saying hashtag Cal Strong. So everybody was hashtag Cal Strong, pull through, having no idea that in a few more days, my mom would be following suit. And we never told mom about Carolyn. And so she was unaware. And also Carolyn was never aware about my mom. So it's just been, unreal.
So your Aunt Carolyn was sick first and hospitalized. Then your mother contracted it, but then your mother passed away before her. And then you didn't tell your Aunt Carolyn because she was sick about your mom's passing. And then she died 6 days later.
Yeah.
Wow. Bill, talk about how tough it has been to go through this grieving process, and people who loved your mom and not being able to physically really talk with them about that during this time.
Well, I would say we're the first generation that's really going through the loss of a loved one, which is very challenging. So it's not a blueprint on how you deal with this. This is very lonely. It's a very lonely process because when you can't visit your mother in the hospital, that's a challenge. And when you do hear about the situation that she's now gone, and you still can't, your family and friends and alumni and people around you for your support system cannot come together. Once again, that's another challenge. But here's the telltale sign. After we buried our mother yesterday, you just go home.
Yeah.
And that was it was not like my sister and I, we can get together, our families can get together, we get phone calls and everything, but back just a couple of months ago, when you're burying a loved one, there's a support system that's physically around you. Mm-hmm. But now it's virtual, now it's the phone calls. It's a very lonely process, I would say that. And it have to change. There's a lot of gaps by us going through this. We found a lot of gaps when you start talking about the process of how you dealing with your parents, the hospital. It's just the communication. It's just a challenge that we need to correct sooner or later, because sooner this is going to happen again. So by us being the first generation, we don't want the second generation to go through this.
Yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about, I understand that people couldn't be physically near you, but they wanted to let you know they care, and they came by your home. Talk a little bit about some video you have of people showing how they felt about your mom.
Oh, that was so uplifting and very spiritual. Well, my daughter had organized some of my classmates, in which I didn't know. So it was a very surprising thing. So between my daughter, my wife, and my son, normally they can't pull anything over me, but they had planned it out pretty well, to where my son was playing chess, and my daughter called one of my other good classmates, Valerie Driscoll, and they just kind of organized things. And next thing you know, I had about 40 cars pulling up in front of my home, honking their horns. It was just very uplifting. It was very spiritual. It helped me get a little bit stronger, and brought a little bit more peace to my life. So I just, thank my daughter, thank my classmates, thank my friends, my neighbors, everyone that was involved with that. So it was very uplifting.
Very creative way also of letting you know that they care, and beyond the phone calls, which is all anybody could really do. So
yes.
I want to talk a little bit, Carla, about what it was like for the viewing at the funeral home. Different than we all are used to.
Absolutely. Going up to Watkins Funeral Home, we've known Willie Watkins for a while and have been up there, for various gatherings, for viewings and whatnot. But this time it was very different. To go up there and to just have the silence, or not people there, because they had to do the social distancing to be in compliance. and definitely understand that. But, you know, it was just, it was really, it was a lonely feeling. You know, you can't turn around and get that hug from someone as you're going through your grief. You're left alone with your grief. And, you know, it has its benefits to some degree, because sometimes you can get so caught up in the socialization factor that you kind of do not get the reflection time that's needed. So it did offer a lot of silence and reflection, as, you know, I'm there with my mom. And also, people are a little confused in this day and time about, you know, what can we do or what can we not do. They're calling saying, well, are they only allowing families? So people are getting mixed memos about, you know, I wanted to go, but I didn't know we could go, or I thought it was just for the family. So, you know, people who ordinarily would have been there did not go because of the mixed messages, as well as those who did go. They kind of expressed the same thing about just the eerie. It's kind of eerie, you know. You're just there. You're having to wait in line. You're having to say no more than 2 people at a time, and even those 2 people have to be spaced out. So it was really different.
So only 2 people were allowed in in the room with your mom during
Right.
the time.
Right.
At a time.
And you definitely had to be spaced out, even with just 2 people. So even with family, us being family, we could not like gather together at the coffin and just kind of support each other. It was just a different kind of experience. Yeah.
Bill, I see you shaking your head. It was tough, huh?
Yes, it was extremely tough. Because once again, my mom was very popular. And, you know, from her Delta and the church and Spelman alumni and people like that just normally would be coming together. Once again, it was a very eerie situation. And this says, from a positive standpoint, it really makes you reflect and look at what should be your priorities and what really makes a difference in your life and people's lives and the people around you. Because it kind of bring it to a situation to where we really need to pay attention to how we need to come together as one and communicate at another level. But the viewing was very different. It was very eerie, you know, to experience that.
Yeah. Let's talk about you had the burial yesterday. What was that like? Because you were at Westview Cemetery and people weren't allowed to be very close, and only 10 people allowed to be even near the coffin?
But yes, the protocol was family members first, and then, you know, to our support, we had people just standing around us, but being social distance. You know, there was probably maybe about 40, 50 people that did show up, but some was in their cars and some was standing off at a distance.
So they were on the perimeter.
That is correct.
Of the cemetery a little bit.
Right.
Did you feel that, was it still the homecoming you wanted her to have?
No.
Or homegoing, I should say. The homegoing that you wanted her to have?
Not at all. Not at all. No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Steve.
No, it wasn't. You know, to agree with him, but I am pleased with, you know, given the resources or the limitations that we had, that, you know, I think it was a very nice, very sweet homegoing. I think we did well with what we were able to do. And, you know, I know reflecting, saying it was eerie, but I would like to say also that my mom she looked beautiful and she looked at peace. So that part was helpful, and, you know, in terms of being a comfort. But yeah, going forward, no, it was not what we expected. Of course, many people would have been there for us and for my mom to show up to celebrate her life. And we do plan on doing a big celebration later. But this was a very, you know, what I say, muted type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And Bill, I guess you agree with that. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. I know she was an Atlanta public school teacher for years. That she went to Spelman College. She talked about going to Spelman as a preschooler. So she's an Atlanta native, as you mentioned, Delta Sigma Theta sorority. and very popular. I hope you're able to, at some point, really give her the type of homegoing service that she deserves.
Yeah,
So,
we will. We definitely do that.
I bet.
We're going to do that. I mean, it's just amazing the posts and social media traction that her story has gained. I mean, I can't even keep up. There's just been so many things that people are sending me, and screenshots just from pages of people I never, I don't know them, but they knew my mom, and they're just saying such wonderful things. I mean, even from Maryland to
Pretty
South
much all over the country. Yeah.
It's just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know this is a difficult time. I know it's tough to do interviews at a time like this, but I appreciate you sharing your story with us. I hope it helps some other people. And then thank you for putting a face with these statistics that we have been hearing about with this coronavirus. And just keep yourself safe, I guess, is the little final thing I want to say.
Yeah. You too. You too.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you again for talking with me. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.